LAPD is group stalking in concert with the people in relevant position at Alvarado Gardens. Right here. This is P.O.C. The same exact elements remain present. They're engaged in amplified audible activity. The people of the state are monitoring to that amplified audible activity. The people surround in relevant position, and the entity is maintaining the same engineered light remains and methods of light activity. All elements are present. This is criminal monitoring. A demon-possessed criminal, that is the LAPD. Surrounded by the presence of a demonic environment. And why are they there? And why are they always here around me? Because they are demon possessed and they're engaged in what is criminal monitoring. Criminal monitoring is a practice of a satanic targeting system, and they're not doing it by themselves. They do it with the people. And what you've been witnessing over the past few weeks is the hostility of this demon possessed department that's going to be there waiting their removal and their exposure on the world scene for not just being merely corrupt, but they are demon possessed, and that is a disqualification from being in law enforcement, and you have seen the reasons why. Okay, there is no religious protection with regard to the demon possession that the Los Angeles Police Department demonstrates while they're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. They are showing what is a demented mind state and obsessive endeavor, delusional continuation when they have long faced exposure and they are acting in conformity to a well-documented pattern of conduct. Okay, all of these are the reasons why and more. They are going to be removed, and they continuously pose a threat to my life, physical safety, overall well-being, in concert with the people of the state, because they're group stalking as an entity. All right, that's a documentation of the people of the state that are stalking and monitoring and threatening in concert with the Los Angeles Police Department, who represents the.
So this is the amber sky space where the LAPD is crossing path and amplifying the sound of it. This is monitoring me in the workplace. That's what's legally relevant, as I'm prosecuting the entity criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, like AVANATH Capital Management is doing, while the property is maintaining presence under a fake sun, gang stalking as a company, gang stalking as a government, gang stalking as a community. That's the people of the state. And this fake sun that is present on the same day at the same time is not creating any amber skies in Los Angeles. It is also not creating what is sunlight on this wall, on the door. This is literally in the shade. This is called stalking with light, and that's what LAPD were doing while they were crossing path in what is engineered light. This is the same sky space, the same location at building 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California. I'm talking about above, where I'm standing, and you're looking at what is nothing other than an amber colored sky. It's as demonic as it is, because at this same location at 8 o'clock in the morning, Carlo Lopez and the rest of the apartment complex at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, which is not sharing any sky space at sunset nor in the morning, where I've already documented this is where the fake sun is now rising in Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments, where you see the fake sun right now at what is 4:57 p.m. After I'm documenting at not only 11:14 in the morning, but I documented the sunrise on February 28, 2025 as of late. All right, I've documented the sunrise and the sunset on many occasions on the same day. You don't have to, because the sunrise is not going to happen at the same address. The fake sun being over the top of my head at 11 is that which is showing that it is indeed a gang stalking system, where I'm still at the same apartment, and this is what you're looking at with regard to the specific environment. This is where LAPD is engaged in the same pattern of conduct in Los Angeles at 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, where this fake sun is idle. And also idle meaning this is the same front door where I stood, and the fake sun is right here feet away from the same exact location. This is non-movement at 11:14. This is non-movement at what is 4 o'clock going on 5 o'clock. It's 4:58 p.m. This is where LAPD is gang stalking, just like the Ontario Police Department are, in concert with the people of the state who are pacing in the parking lot by those over and under the age of majority while they're monitoring the evidence in real time. This is where the entity is engaged in criminal summoning, like I documented on podcast earlier. This is where an entity is keeping a fake sun. None of this is sunlight, while you're looking at the sunset in Los Angeles on this day at the same time in 2024. This is not sunlight, but that you're looking at that is creating what is the ongoing maintenance of engineer light inside of the apartment, while you're looking at the sunset at the same time, where the entity is engaging in the hallmark of stalking via helicopter. This is the fake sun that's remaining in perfect alignment as I look through the crack of what are closed blinds. The blinds are closed, all right? This is the P.O.C, and this is where the entity is maintaining what is perfect alignment with light. This is demonic, and this is where the demon-possessed are engaged in the satanic surveillance system of federal group stalking and monitoring, and this is what LAPD were doing. This is creating what is the shadow of an object on the opposite side of the patio. That's not sunlight either, it's engineered light. This is creating, again, when I'm standing in it, my upright shadow appears at a distance away from me. That's not sunlight, that's engineered light, and they're all stalking and living under it, living by residence. And engineered light that touches in objects and ricochets in order to touch all the surfaces, that's not sunlight either. It's also not coexisting with what I'm capturing on this day in Los Angeles.
Entity is acting via a corrupt law enforcement agency. And this is light that remains in the sky space. The sun would never be present, by the way. But like I said, all elements remain present. But even at nightfall, the entity is already, you've seen the layers of light, you've seen the magnification of light, you've seen the people of the state that are stalking in the path with this engineered light on the surface. Engineered light is always present, they're always monitoring. Okay, P.O.C.
All right, this is the same apartment complex where I'm at, so I'm going to show you what the entity did at the same time since I have it on video. So let's just go ahead and look at that together, because the entity is maintaining the specific environment on this day in 2024 where LAPD is gang stalking me, doing so under an idle fake sun, and that is the presentation of a fake sun that is then in a position, engaged in the situation regarding some sort of sunset, which is at the same location where I documented the sunrise. And so that's what I'm going to show you, like that I documented this morning, where the entity is gang stalking. This is through my apartment, and you're going to see the same pattern with regard to stalking with light that I'm documenting at 4 o'clock in the evening here in Ontario, California. And I want to be clear, San Bernardino County is east of Los Angeles. There is no making any logical sense of what the entity is doing. It's patently absurd, and it's also outright stalking by the entity. And in order for you to see that, you do have to prove it, and I have it on video evidence for the world to witness. And so this is what I documented regarding the sunrise, and you'll remember what I documented inside of, while I'm remaining in Ontario just 7 days ago with regard to the sunrise at 7:26 a.m. This is speaking to the pattern of conduct, and it's this same pattern through closed blinds. The fake sun is shining through in the morning while you look at that.
All right, it is currently 6:43 a.m. I just want you to see the extreme magnification of light that's coming through what are closed blinds as the entity is engaging in.
This is the same apartment complex I live and work at Alvarado Gardens. Okay, so I'm in building 1806, and LAPD is from 6 o'clock. You're going into 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. Almost, you're talking about over 10 hours later, the fake sun is in a position such that it's going to be seen setting. That's the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring under an idle fake sun that's remaining over me at the apartment complex in Los Angeles. And while the entity is indeed engaged in that pattern of conduct, this is what Woodside Senior Apartments is doing while I'm capturing the maintenance of the fake sun, not only at the same time in Ontario on the same day at the same time, but the duration of time as you're looking at the fake sun not going anywhere. Okay, and then there's a whole other rest of the country where you were supposedly to see the sun. It's not the natural environment. And as I documented it, the sunlight inside of this, which you know is not sunlight, it's engineered light, got brighter in real time as I document on podcast. That's why I converted to video. And it also, the demons in the parking lot began pacing as I started reciting the documentation. So that's real time impunity. They're all going to prison. This is speaking to the demon possession of the Los Angeles Police Department, who are gang stalking in helicopters, just like the Ontario Police Department are doing. It's a statewide P.O.C. that the people of the state are engaged in. That's why the fake sun is remaining over venues that are not private residences, such as Alvarado Gardens and Woodside Senior Apartments.
People. All right, so while they want to use underage persons who are third-party group stalkers engaging in a sex offense in concert with the government, they're going to be prosecuted and documented as engaging in terrorism and engaging in a mass sex offense of a felonious nature. And it's going to be appreciated on federal law, and that's going on their criminal records. While the entity uses those under the age living at the crime scene, monitoring an American citizen with those under the age of majority, no, they're not going to be protected. And in addition to that, I want to be clear, monitoring with communication devices, just being present, it does not require rocket science at all. It just requires presence and activity creation. And I want to also speak out, the demon possessed is not limited to the age of majority. So there's a lot of layers there. You are prosecuting based on what the entity is doing. All right, so I will remind again about another venue speaking to an ongoing contradiction. It's impossible that was the sun over 408 West G Street. That was a pattern of conduct. It's the demonic. The demonic are engaging in a targeting system in the state of California. At 12:38 p.m., that light source is in zenith over my head at the front door of 408 West G Street in Ontario, California. You know that that's impossible based on the fact that the sun remains there for the duration of the day. This is a body of evidence that already exists. You also know it's impossible because the entity is keeping the light source here at Alvarado Gardens, now where I'm at. And here at 12:38 p.m., there's no vantage point where there's any sun over that would be seen by any person standing in front of door 50.
I'm referencing what I documented yesterday, March 6, 2024, while the fake sun is over the same apartment building adjacent to my leasing office. And I'm documenting these demons at Woodside who are still gang stalking, like I was referencing them before I relocated to Los Angeles, and they were gang stalking. And I spoke to the fact that they're going to federal prison.
451 at 408 West G Street, because the sun is not maintaining its zenith presence over everyone, everywhere at the same time in Los Angeles County, in San Bernardino County, and any other county. That's not what's happening. You're suggesting that that's happening everywhere, and that's not what the sun is. It's in constant movement. Not only that, it's not a hovering light source, and it surely does not create sunlight does not create multiple shadows refracting off of objects while people are driving by. No, those are demons. Those are demons, and demons engage in crossing path and engineered light. That's how they monitor you. And
that's what they were doing in the parking lot while I'm capturing the video of the fake sun outside of this patio glass door, where you can see an upright shadow of the shelf that's on the opposite side of this patio. That is impossible light activity while you see the creation of that shadow appearing on the glass door. This is where the demon possessed, all they do is live amongst that engineered light and move all around that engineered light, while they are the demon possessed who know exactly what I am doing. They are stalking, and they're proven to be stalking in that environment where it's deliberately maintained for their monitoring purposes. And monitoring is a sex offense committed by the government who has no warrant or probable cause, and they are necessarily doing it in reliance on the population who is of the same condition, and they're gang stalking together. This is public corruption in the U.S.
Monitoring in the private space, this is a prosecution for a mass sex offense. All right, and it's also ongoing documentation for what is impunity. The sex offender that's being documented is monitoring its own documentation, speaking to the malice of that sex offender, that ongoing desire, which is analyzed as a threat. All right, a very violent sex offender in the way that you would analyze under any other body of law. A sex offender that continues to pursue, a sex offender that continues to persist, a sex offender they're not going to be protected. And in addition to that, I want to be clear, monitoring with communication, they're going to be prosecuted and documented as engaging in terrorism and engaging in a mass sex offense of a felonious nature. And it's going to be appreciated on federal law, and that's going on their criminal records. While the entity uses those under the age living at the crime scene, monitoring, because that's exactly what they're doing, and that's exactly the significance of this. And it's going toward the prosecution, very severe prosecution, civilly and criminally. It's 7:02 a.m., and this is P.O.C. inside of, again, understand the direction that this window is facing. I'm on the 3rd floor in Los Angeles. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct. The sun rises in perfect alignment with my address. That's the pattern of conduct. And it's also setting in perfect alignment with me at the end of the day, 12 hours from now. And throughout the entirety of the day, the entity is maintaining engineered light, and this light actually has nothing to do with the placement of the light source. This is a source of maintaining engineered light. The light source itself is a false illusion. It's an idiotic illusion, because when you see this, and then, for example, you're in Louisiana and you look up in the sky space and you're looking at what you are thinking is the sun, you see how this is very clear. It's a revelation for the world to acknowledge what we're all surrounded by. But those that are subject to group stalking and monitoring, a public entity, a government is doing that to you. And that creates a whole body of laws that you are going to be protected by, that you're going to be able to enforce. Because while we cannot control the fact that the demonic may be here, you can control the fact that the entity wants to practice this demonic system in order to monitor you. Because that's what they're doing. All right, and they're engaging in a specific pattern of conduct. And with regard to its exposure, it was only a matter of time, by the way, but with regard to its exposure, you're documenting and you're prosecuting for the relentless endeavor to continue after being exposed. I want the federal judges to keep this in mind. The entity knows that it is always surrounded, and day in and day out, continuously engaging in threatening my life, sexually violating me, while posing what are reasonably so, an ongoing communication of a threat, an ongoing...
Pay attention to my hand, that you can see the concentrated light touching my hand, and I'm standing at a distance away from the window that has closed blinds. That is the engineered light that you see aimed inside of this apartment right now, while I'm capturing the fake sun that's at the same address at the bottom. This is Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario, California, and the engineered light and all the ways in which I'm showing you that it is occurring inside of the apartment. So again, this is, as I've shown you during the day, engineered light is touching my hand while I'm inside of the apartment, and this is what is flashing through. The fake sun is supposed to be, remember, you're always supposed to be, well, what's the cause of that light? Oh, so this is how you have what is asinine. It's always the sun. Okay, but when you have the sun at one address for 9 hours in the day, even when you try to slice that up because the demon possessed are monitoring evidence, it, first of all, never is deleted from the record. And second of all, it never becomes the natural environment. I already documented the sunrise here. You're not slicing it up and, okay, well, we're necessarily forgetting about the fact that the sunrise was last week. Today's a new day. And so in that illusion, there is no ongoing collection and paying attention and analysis to the environment where every day you're starting off new. This is what the demon possessed and the mentally inept are operating as though that's the reality, and it's not. This is a concentrated light in my hand in up above while I'm talking. This is, first of all, a sex offense while I'm being monitored, and the concentrated light is occurring while I'm standing away from my window that is closed. That's speaking to the specific environment and impossible light activity. The sex offense of being molested inside of your venue, where you are living at a venue and you didn't consent to that. This is also what is underway while the entity has the fake sun remaining in alignment to me. And this is always supposed the explanation. Oh, well, where did this light come from? Oh, it must be because of the sun. But that doesn't make sense when it's happening what is hours away from where I captured the sun inside of the same apartment in the morning, earlier in the day, where the entity is maintaining a specific environment of a light source that never goes anywhere. Okay, the sun is maintaining presence while I'm at the same front door of what is unit number 51, and the entity is maintaining this environment. And at the end of the day, I'm still looking at it through what is the crack in the outside of the same patio glass door. I'm at the same apartment. That's speaking to the P.O.C. And in Los Angeles, this is what LAPD is gang stalking in. While at the same address, where the same apartment, 60 units, the fake sun is present at 6 a.m. while I'm documenting it. I'm going to show you the light source that's piercing through the closed blinds in perfect alignment with me, identifying a means of stalking with light. And also, this is where LAPD is gang stalking all day long with the people of the state under that fake sun that's idle, specific, peculiar with regard to my location wherever I am at that property. From sunrise and at 4:52 p.m., the documented sunset for the gang stalking purposes of the entity in the specific environment, not in the natural environment.
Communication of an intent to continue to sexually target and molest and pursue with what are terrorizing methods for a criminal purpose, serving no legitimate purpose whatsoever. And this is while they are monitoring the evidence that being practiced by a government and a people. It's entirely sick. That's very sick and demented.
Okay,
it's
so
perverted at a heightened level. That's sexual violence by all of those people. That's sexual violence that needs to be recognized under federal law.
So I noted here.
Okay, it's currently 7:07 a.m. I just want to remind you, this engineered light that you see in here, over my head as I capture out the back of that library, is the presence of the light source. Supposedly the sun, because we only have one. We've only got one. You're going to remember the sun is supposedly present at 12:38 p.m. directly over the front door of apartment 451 in Ontario, California. At what point is that ever going to happen when it's right?
That's the fake sun that's in perfect alignment with me through my living room window in Los Angeles, California. I'm inside of 1806 North Alvarado Street, unit number 6. I'm facing the hillside. This is the pattern of conduct of stalking with the fake sun. This is the tactic underway while you can see here at 4:27 in the evening where the fake sun is over the top of my head as I open the front door at the same apartment. That duration of time is speaking to stalking by the population in that engineered environment, and that presence with this engineered light, no matter how impossible it would be to see it through closed blinds, okay, how impossible it is with regard to this always perfectly placed in alignment to my path, no matter where I'm at. And as I'm comparing this pattern of conduct in LA and in Ontario, that's understanding what is stalking by a population that surrounds me. Okay, and this is what I'm showing you inside of my apartment in the morning where the fake sun is rising and where LAPD was gang stalking at the same address, at the same apartment complex when I'm just downstairs, and that is amber sky speaking to the pattern of conduct where the fake sun is then also setting. Okay, where it's present, that is speaking to what is over 9 hours. All right, we can count together at 6:42 p.m. and I'm documenting them at what is 4:52 p.m. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's over 10 hours later. And I am at the same apartment complex. I am facing the same hillside where the demons in the helicopter and LAPD are gang stalking. I want you to see this again.
And this is impossible light activity. It's serving to monitor. It's impossible while the blinds are closed. The blinds are closed. Okay, so like I said, this is going for the prosecution, and so I will remind you about another location at the Ovid Family Community Library, both the address and at 1026, 1027, I believe. I'm inside of the library, and what you see directly over my head as I capture out the back of that library is the presence of the light source. Supposedly the sun, because we only have one. We've only got one. You're going to remember the sun is supposedly present at 12:38 p.m. directly over the front door of apartment 451 in Ontario, California.
I just want you to, sorry, because you need to see the object itself. There you go. This is the light source that's maintaining perfect alignment. This is, again, a very small, the little connectors between the blinds. This is speaking to the fake sun that's also engaged in what is the impossible, as you're even looking at it through at a distance away from the window in the living room of my apartment in Los Angeles on the 3rd floor that's facing the hillside, where I'm documenting this fake sun still after 10 o'clock in the morning when I remain inside of my apartment on Saturdays and Sundays. But nonetheless, the entity is keeping the fake sun in alignment to me. The fake sun is the evidence of stalking by the population, and it includes the corrupt government, the Los Angeles Police Department. This is where the fake sun is always supposed to be the guise of what's supposedly a sunset, because while I'm looking at it and while you're looking at it here at 4:52 p.m. at the same time on the same day in 2024 and 2025, the entity is maintaining this light source, and no sunset that's here is creating any sort of amber skies over the same apartment complex, by the way, that also had the sunrise, because this is where I was living at the top up here at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, California. So again, this is getting to the malice of the stalkers who are also monitoring evidence, and I want to make sure that it is clear, because let's go back. I want you to see again at 4:52 p.m. This is over 9 hours later, where the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct at 4:52 at the end of the day. This is the sunrise in alignment to me, and then you've got the LAPD gang stalking where there is a sunset, and this is again the sunset that's still remaining in alignment to me at the same time in Ontario, California, where there's no shared sky space, and there's also no possible way that the sun was over Alvarado Gardens at any point today, which would be the case if this was the natural environment. This is the point of capturing the pattern of conduct that the entity is engaging in, and is doing so with regard to monitoring evidence against itself. So this is, again, the entity. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it in real time so that you can see. After the sunrise through my living room window at the same apartment.
In concert with the people in relevant position at Alvarado Gardens. Right here.
This is the same hillside where my apartment faces in the morning, where this is the sunrise at 6:42 a.m. My apartment window in building 1806 faces this same exact hillside, where you're going to see amber in the sky. This is speaking to a method of stalking with light. It's not the sunset. It's not this. It's none of this is going to be the sunset, even as you compare it with the idle fake sun at the same Woodside Senior Apartments, where I've documented the sunrise as late as February 28, 2025 at 7:26 in the morning, where I documented even today, where at the same time at 11:15, 11:14, the fake sun is over the same apartment building where I'm standing right now in this video at the top at 4:52 p.m. It's over the top of my head, and it's over the top of my head at the same time at both this location at Woodside Senior Apartments in Ontario and this apartment complex where LAPD is gang stalking me hours later while a sunset is the guys were stalking with light by the demons who are using helicopters to engage in the P.O.C. Okay?
This is P.O.C.
That's the significance of what you're looking at.
Same exact elements remain present. They're engaged in amplified audible activity. The people of the state are monitoring to that amplified audible activity. The people surround in relevant position, and the entity is maintaining the same engineered light remains and methods of light activity. All elements are present. This is criminal
So this is what the entity
monitoring.
is doing while targeting me inside of my office.
Demon-possessed is the hostility of this demon-possessed department that's going to be there waiting their removal and their exposure on the world scene for not just being merely corrupt, but they are...
So paying attention, breaking this scene down, it's entirely demonic. It's impossible to naturally be the case. The LAPD is gang stalking. The use of what is amplified helicopter is sounding inside of my office where I'm subject to the pattern of conduct. Psychological torture, just like the entity is doing, keeping this apartment in Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments filled with amplified noise, loud booming, with simultaneity to what it is that I'm doing, what I'm documenting, what I'm doing on my devices, literally as I just walk around and move and have my existence, doing so when I'm sleeping, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment with regard to the context of gang stalking at apartment complexes that are not private residential areas. This is a facilitating venue where the fake sun is remaining and the same pattern of conduct is underway on the same day at the same time, where this fake sun that's remaining over me at the same time and at 4:52 this is the same apartment where I had it over the top of my head at 11:15. This is where the entity had the fake sun over the top of my head, where I'm standing outside of the same building, and you're looking at the sky that's not a sunset. This is the setting where you're recognizing gang stalking by the government. And the government is doing so at apartment complexes through the people of the state who are demon-possessed sex offenders, keeping a woman under surveillance together as a community. All right. And while I document in real time, documentation of what I'm including in this video of impunity and malice, while the engineered light, it became immediately brighter, filled up the apartment. It was beginning to dim. It got brighter immediately as I start reciting the facts relevant to identifying what LAPD is doing on this day in concert with the same entity. And that's what's underway in Ontario. And Linda Reyes is going to prison for it. So are all the employees gang stalking at Woodside, and all the demons in units 33 through 64 are going to federal prison for gang stalking with the same entity. LAPD is not distinct from the city of Ontario. They're the same entity. They are tied together in the identical pattern of conduct where, by the way, the fake sun is documented rising and setting at both addresses. And none of that can occur at the same time. What's over my head at Woodside Senior Apartments at 408 West G Street is not over the top of my head at 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, 90026. Not at the same time nor at any time, because the sun is never leaving either venue. It's remaining over me for the duration of the day. At whatever point that it arrives, if the demons are trying to cover up, which you cannot, at any point in the day, you have what is always remaining over me. At whatever point in the day, the fake sun is shining, and it's over me, which is never becoming the natural environment, because I've already documented it rising and setting in Ontario, California, then Los Angeles, coming back to Ontario, California. And this is not the only aspect. I'm documenting the fake sun rising and setting over me in Hesperia, California, which is not sharing any sky space with Alvarado Gardens either. This is, by the way, the same year after I left Alvarado Gardens, and returning to Alvarado Gardens is just, returning to Woodside Senior Apartments is only punctuating what is the prolonged sentences in federal prison. For the Ontario Police Department, that's going to be disbanded. And for the city of Ontario, full of demon-possessed public officials who are still engaging in what is criminal surveillance, doing so in violation of a woman. They're all predators. They're sex offenders who are engaged in massive public corruption, never before exposed and prosecuted. And that is worthy of what is removing every single last one of them from office, stopping from allowing them to receive paychecks for their criminal engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring it, and calling it the city of Ontario's engagement of what is firefighting, law enforcement, the city hall engaging in the business of the people. They're gang stalkers, and they're the demon possessed. And this is speaking to that. So this is what you're looking at, the sky space here.
Are demon possessed, and that is a disqualification from being law enforcement, and you have seen the reasons why. Okay, there is no religious protection with regard to the demon possession that the Los Angeles Police Department demonstrates while they're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. They are showing what is a demented mind state, an obsessive endeavor, delusional continuation when they have long faced exposure and they are acting in conformity to a well-documented pattern of conduct. Okay, all of these are the reasons why, and more. They are going to be removed, and they continuously pose a threat to my life, physical safety, overall well-being, in concert with the people of the state, because they're group stalking as an entity. All right, that's a documentation of the people of the state that are stalking and monitoring and threatening in
So this is where the entity has the fake sun over the top of my head at 8 o'clock in the morning. This is where the entity has the fake sun over the top of my head and I'm standing at the same apartment building 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles at 90026 at 8:04, where Carlo Lopez is working for third-party gang stalker of Speaker Companies, Inc., who's going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally, just like AVANATH Capital Management shall be. And the impunity of this third party in Ontario, as I'm documenting them, and they are monitoring the evidence, and they continuously do so and continuously inflict psychological torture. That is also interpreted through the specific environment. That is, inside of the apartment, the fake sun starts to shine brighter. The engineered light starts to appear more concentrated in real time while I'm documenting on podcast and while I begin capturing video, which again, what's the result of that? Everybody that's going to federal prison is going to prison for longer. This includes the demons who are in office in Ontario, including the Ontario Police Department, all those gang stalking sex offenders who engaged in kidnapping, including those court officials who are sitting on the bench and they engaged in kidnapping. This evidence is going against all of them. This is what an ongoing, comprehensive, concerted effort to try to steal what belongs to me, to try to criminally defame my character and accomplish murdering me and making it appear as though I either committed suicide or that I suffered some unfortunate demise that everyone that's related to me and knew me is going to be crying about. These are the demons engaged in what is the organized crime of trying to accomplish malicious murder and theft, murder for profit via gang stalking. Okay, there is no sunset. That's the product of the fake sun that's remaining idle at the same venue as I documented today, 11 o'clock in the morning, 11:14. And you're talking about what is the idle fake sun while I'm at the same apartment. And then you're looking at what is the fake sun that's over me this morning at Alvarado Gardens, like I documented, a complete body speaking to the fake sun over me at 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And so let's go ahead and look at that while I'm showing you this now, because this is where the entity is engaged in this asininity to its own demise. Okay, gang stalking as a apartment complex. Those that are living at that facilitating venue are going to prison, and those that are working at that facilitating venue are going to federal prison. And those that are representing that property, that own that property, that are engaged in, for example, property management of that property, like speaker companies like AVANATH Capital Management, are going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted. Those that, let me be clear, unfortunate, well, it's not unfortunate, but it's unfortunate for them that I documented it. But the speaker companies engaged in gang stalking me with the LAPD, gang stalking me as an employer while I documented corporate actors. They're going to prison. Todd Speaker, I documented Don Noggle, Kimberly Fletcher, Heather Teal. I documented Carla Lopez, Selena Robledo. I documented them, Maria Alvarez. They're going to federal prison for gang stalking by virtue of employment, just like Linda Reyes is going to prison. All right. This is what the entity that engaged in it. The only difference is that Daryl Carter, who, I want to be clear, this is not creating any, I'm not legislating right now. When I'm stating that those corporate actors with speaker companies engaged in that which is requiring federal prison, that is not to say that because I haven't had a conversation with Daryl J. Carter, the CEO and chairman of this gang stalking property management company, that doesn't mean that he's avoiding federal prison. What I am stating is that I have not communicated with him while Ontario police is flying over the top of my head on the phone. That's why Don Noggle and Kimberly Fletcher and Heather Till are going to federal prison, for example. Okay, but I just want to be clear. That doesn't mean that you're avoiding federal prison. The demon possessed are always getting excited, thinking that there is no loophole and justice will meet you. You're not going to avoid it at all. But I just want to point that out. At 11, this is what I want you to see finally, 11:15 in the morning. While the entity is gang stalking me, doing so under the fake sun that I documented at the same time today at Woodside Senior Apartments. While the entity has the fake sun over me at the same Woodside Senior Apartments at 4:52 p.m. And this is where the entity is keeping a fake sun in alignment to me, speaking to what the city of Ontario is doing is gang stalking and monitoring me. And doing so while 4:52 and 11:14, this is idle presence of that which is not the sun and could never have been over Alvarado Gardens, contrary to what I documented at the same time on the same day in Los Angeles, an entirely different region. And this is clearly not over Alvarado Gardens, nor is anybody else in the world looking at the sun from the same exact vantage point like I am at apartment 51, looking straight up over the top of my head. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking and is doing so while I want to show you the fake sun while I am at Alvarado Gardens.
Criminal state surveillance in concert with the people of the
state. And I'm going to go right back over to the same apartment building.
Right? Because
where the entity is keeping the fake sun, and then there's at this same apartment building where I'm going to walk, you're going to see the fake sun in the same position over the top of my head in Ontario, California at 408 West G Street at the same exact time. And this is down here at the bottom. This is where the entity has the fake sun still that's aimed inside of aimed in alignment to me while that which is not sunlight. Break down the whole illusion of the demon possessed. They have their kids pacing around in the parking lot. That's not okay, but they're going to prison for it. While I'm capturing this video, the entity is gang stalking, crossing path in the parking lot in engineered light, and they know that they're under a fake sun. This is supposed to cover the demon possessed when you have this illusion of a fake sun, and that's the cause for the sunlight. But you know that sunlight doesn't cause your shadow to be in front of you. You know that your sunlight doesn't cause multiple shadows. It doesn't cause layered shadows. It doesn't create shadows in the shade. It does not create that which is light appearing above your head where your shadow would appear on the ceiling inside of any building. And this is also not the sun where it's at one address, like I'm documenting at Woodside Senior Apartments, and then you're juxtaposing that with, well, pray tell, what is this over the top of my head in Los Angeles at the same time? It's the
people
P.O.C.
of the state are systematically
where LAPD is gang stalking just like the city of Ontario is, the corrupt government Ontario. This is the state of California gang stalking.
And they engage in what is the ongoing maintenance of activity in that engineered light, and they also supplement in the shade. They'll come and molest you with headlights while they cross path. Engineered light, impossible light activity, the same impossible light activity that's on the ground that creates multiple shadows and magnified. That light swiping across buildings and surfaces. That's what Jose and Sons were engaging in. They're demons. Demons coming and doing landscaping. They're group stalking. All right, if there is no exception. This is a demon that's representing the United States Postal Service. USPS is monitoring American citizens. And they're doing it in concert with the corrupt law enforcement agency that just again gave ongoing evidence against the whole entity. When I'm exposing the whole entity, the entity starts freaking out, stalking in planes and helicopters, starts freaking.
Okay, so the entity, again, like I stated, this is how I'm giving you what is the screen recording of what LAPD is doing at 4:52 p.m., where that is not a sunset that you see at the same exact apartment building where you're going to see the fake sun. I'm at the same exact apartment building at 1810 North Alvarado Street, in between my leasing office and building 1810 in Los Angeles, zip code 90026. 12-1-2-3-4. Over 5 hours later, just like I documented here at Woodside at the bottom, over 5 hours later, the fake sun is still in alignment to me at 4:52 p.m., where I'm capturing the entity gang stalking and doing so in conformity to a pattern of conduct. Okay, and it got brighter as I documented because this was moments earlier. So I just want to be clear with regard to the psychopaths that are gang stalking, providing evidence against themselves so that you could be more aware and certain of the fact that they're demons. Okay, and that they work for Satan. Okay, this is what's happening, and then moments later it's getting brighter as I am with simultaneity documenting them. Because this is never the natural environment. It's over the top of my head at 11 o'clock in the morning. That's the malice and the intent to do so. That's going to be legally analyzed as what is psychological torture. It's stalking with engineered light, where that population is gang stalking on behalf of the state. A bunch of demons that like to use helicopters, like the Ontario Police Department has provided a body of evidence against the demons who are going to prison. Okay, this is what's happening at the same time.
Okay, 3 p.m. from right now.
There you go. On the same day in Los Angeles, California. I took a screenshot of this, but I just want to go ahead and take the opportunity to get it on video. This is the exact same time, 11:14 a.m. in 12 seconds is Woodside Senior Apartments. This is specifically apartment number 4246. That's standing in alignment to me. This is the same apartment building. In other words, the entity has the fake sun rising on this side of the building and then setting on the opposite side of the same apartment. This is what you'll see here. This building, okay? This is where the entity is keeping the fake sun. You can see it more clearly the more that I document. The entity is engaging what is the pattern of conduct, keeping the fake sun. The entity is doing so with regard to my documentation. And as, again, those who are in the field of science and those that are not given over to Satan and can actually, because there's no refuting this evidence. So those that study it, in other words, the government agencies that study this, you will pay attention to the minor details. The minor details of what I was documenting before. This edge of this building, this is where the entity was keeping the fake sun closer and closer to the building at 3:30 and 4 o'clock. You have a rapid movement away from the building where the entity was formally setting the fake sun, and going into daylight savings time is not an explanation for what the entity is doing under a fake sun that's idle under all circumstances, gang stalking. I'm just pointing out the details that you pay attention to, because now the entity is keeping the fake sun what is farther away from this building as I am documenting it, and doing so with regard to what is still idle presence of the fake sun, and deviating with regard to remaining over the roof of the same building while the same presence of the idle sun persists. Okay, this is not going to, while it's over me and LAPD is gang stalking at 4:52 p.m. is not creating any sunlight over any object that's going to appear on the opposite side of Tracy Banks's patio. All right, the entity is doing so while engineered light bounces off of objects. That's not what sunlight does. And it's for purposes of stalking with light. And then, again, bouncing off of, that's my being a human being, communicating using words in order to convey our thoughts and ideas in order that someone else can understand it, because that's what we are as human beings, trying to communicate. This is not sunlight that's actually bouncing off of one object to appear on the other. This is literally supernatural. Okay, the fake sun is not necessary for this to occur. This is speaking to what is the illusion, and the illusion is highly unintelligent. Why? Because it's sitting over one apartment complex for over 10 hours a day. Absent this fake sun, you have what is the maintenance of what is engineered light that does not require the presence of the fake sun. I've documented this while the entity is keeping engineered light inside of the apartment. This is what is documented while you're looking at engineered light that's present. All right, you see here, it's the same light activity in the morning throughout the duration of the day, 11 o'clock in the morning. But I will give you an example before I want to persist with what is the entity that is gang stalking. The entity is maintaining the same engineered light on a cloudy day when it's dark outside, when the fake sun is not. Excuse me, I didn't mean to press that button. When the fake sun is not shining, it has nothing to do with the fake sun itself. It has nothing to do. And this is, again, the yesterday I believe yesterday. Oh, no, this is the day before yesterday. Let me show you what is. Yesterday was the 6th at 11. It immediately begins getting sunny. That's when I started capturing images. The 5th, it was cloudy and rainy all day long. And this is the same exact engineer light in the middle of the day. But I have this ongoing environment in the morning where the demons are gang stalking together. This is the engineer light at 6:39 in the morning. It's the same framing around the east living room wall. It has nothing to do with the fake sun. It exists distinct from the fake sun. What is the fake sun there for? To create an illusion to you, because Satan thinks that you're an idiot. Satan thinks that you are so stupid, and you're not stupid. You're just not aware of your environment. Because when you look at that, any 5th grader would recognize that the sun is not going to remain over one building all day long, and nor is sunlight going to pierce through a peephole while the sun is above the building and sunlight comes down at a downward trajectory, not doing gymnastics under structures and then piercing through windows and glass doors and creating light where there is shade out of nowhere, and creating what is light fanning across on the inside of structures. That's not sunlight, and that's what's covering all of the property. The entity goes to the extent to keep a fake sun visible, as I documented, because you're supposed to assume, which you wouldn't, and it's also unintelligent, nor is it logical. So the entity is engaging in this while an idle fake sun is remaining over one property, and this is what is documented at the same time, where the property is indeed engaged in what is monitoring as an apartment complex, and they're all going to prison for it. This is what was documented on the same time
now,
in 2024.
An hour and 10 minutes from now, it's at the same location, 12:38 p.m. I documented that already. But it's also seen in this same location over apartment number 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments. No, Woodside Senior Apartments is a third-party facilitating venue, just like this is a third-party facilitating venue where state surveillance is underway. And to the demise of the whole entity, because every single last one is going to slice down that entity. I'm going to prosecute them by name. That you're living at a crime scene with children, living at a crime scene or coming to the crime scene using what you have at your disposal to monitor, using your company name.
And that's exactly what I stated was the case. And this is exactly what the Ontario Police Department is doing right now. I want to document amplified helicopter activity by the demons who are being disbanded, and they're doing so gang stalking with the same demon. She's going to prison. Ontario PD was gang stalking by helicopter while I'm capturing evidence. She's going to prison and she's not getting out. She's also doing so under a fake sun that's remaining in perfect alignment at what is 5:36 p.m. Okay, this is the entity that is also monitoring. These are the delusional psychopaths that are engaged in the pattern of conduct while you expose their condition, while you expose their sexual perversion, while you expose their obsession. This is the prosecution of AVANATH Capital Management, who all of their residents are engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, civilly and criminally liable for it. That's called stalking in the path of light. And Ontario PD, under a fake sun that's at the same venue, is engaging in what is federal group stalking and monitoring with the terrorists that are residing at the venue. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison with this evidence. So I want you to listen to amplified helicopter amongst engineer light that's appearing. That's not sunlight. It's called stalking with light. And the Ontario Police Department stalking with the people, driving out of the parking. That's a method of stalking in the path with light. That's a method of stalking in the path with light. They do the same thing while they're worshiping my genitalia between my legs. These are sex offenders. And the demons that are in custody of children, i.e. the demons with license 9CZC059, they're losing their custody of their children. They continuously speak to the fact that they are a threat to them and that they are engaging in gang stalking with impunity, like I'm documenting. This is exactly what LAPD is doing under a fake sun that is idle at 4:52 p.m. That is remaining in relevant position to me. I just want to be clear. This is the same demon. She's going to federal prison. She's stalking in the path, living at a crime scene license 9CKS542. Stalking in the path, that's very demonic. She's just aiming her headlights. The entity is gang stalking by aircraft. This is the entity that's doing so under the fake sun that's remaining idle. This is the same fake sun where that remains over the top of my head, and that's how you know that she's stalking. Again, 9CKS542. This is P.O.C. That's amplified plane while I'm moving. She's going to prison. And the entity is doing so with regard to impunity. These are psychopaths that sit around in their vehicles. This is an African-American hefty demon that is gang stalking. Okay, stalking with light and doing so in alignment to me with what I'm doing on my communication device inside of my apartment. She's going to federal prison and she acts with impunity. This is a sex offender that's also exhibiting hostility toward her exposure, and she's incriminating everybody because this whole property is in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. Okay, that's the ease with which the entity, they just engage in surveillance. They come onto the grounds to share in the elements of monitoring, and they're doing so under the fake sun. None of that is sunlight. while it's setting, while LAPD is gang stalking by helicopter at 4:52 p.m. This is where the LAPD is gang stalking, where the fake sun is rising over me in LA. This is where the fake sun is rising in Ontario, California, over this particular building, where it's not going to still be sunlight. Those are the shadow of the trees. That's the shadow of something that the engineer light is touching, appearing at a great distance away. That's not sunlight. That's a demon that's going to prison. 9 CKS 542, and the wealth of documentation about her gang stalking with impunity is relevant to what all the rest of the demons at Woodside Senior Apartments are doing, also with equal amounts of impunity. That's the depth of engineer light reaching that way. Remember this documentation, the fake sun is remaining in alignment. That's not sunlight. And it's also reaching into the depths with regard to maintenance of light, and so is keeping your foot on the brakes while the entity flies over by helicopter and planes. This is what Mike Lorenz is being removed for. This is what Paul Leon's being removed for. This is the ongoing criminal contribution to public corruption by a perverted and psychopathic population who is stalking together, and the mental illness is a national security threat. Okay, they tend to do so in concert with minor children, because that's what they are, little gang members in training, gang stalking with the people. They're all being prosecuted gang stalking together. All right, it is currently, again, when you're looking at that, and the entity is gang stalking under a fake sun, and they do so because they're fearful of this very evidence that I'm showing you right now. They're all going to prison for it. When you're looking at what is not a sunset, because a sunset is not going to occur at the same venue where you have a sunrise, and you're witnessing their mental illness while they act with impunity, and they're being exposed to the world, and they're being prosecuted by the feds, and they just presented their identification again. Okay, this is where the entity has the fake sun over the top of my head. This is what's inspiring the criminal monitoring by Ontario Police and helicopter right now, and they are providing ongoing evidence as to why these demons going to prison at Woodside are not ever getting out. These old people are going to likely expire in prison, which is where they belong. You see them going out to gang stalk in the parking lot by just stalking in the path with their vehicle, while helicopter and plane activity, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment, psychologically torturing in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, while they are acting with an intent to obstruct justice, while they are being reported to the feds.
Engaging in whatever methods, but that is never going to be the sun. It's still going to be here at 3:30 p.m. It's 11:20 in the morning. Okay, at 12:30 p.m. from right now, it's an hour and 10 minutes from now, it's at the same location, 12:38 p.m. I documented that already. But it's also seen in this same location over apartment number 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments. No, Woodside Senior Apartments is the third-party facilitating venue, just like this is the third-party facilitating venue where state surveillance is underway. And to the demise of the whole entity, because every single last one is going to slice down that entity. I'm going to prosecute them.
Just like you saw the demon gang stalking in her vehicle, in relevant position, and in what is engineered light. That's not sunlight that's touching all of the venue. That's not sunlight that's creating the shadow of trees, while engineered light shoots through like a laser and creates the shadow of those trees on the buildings at what is speaking to horizontally shot laser light, which is speaking to no sunset that happened in Los Angeles on the same day at the same time, where you have gang stalking by helicopter, where I'm showing you what is an idle fake sun. That's exactly what is going on at Alvarado Gardens. That's exactly what's going on at Woodside Senior Apartments, and they're going to federal prison. They are all gang stalking, just like this overweight African American gang stalking elder is doing by gang stalking, engaging in the elements of monitoring by sitting in her vehicle and creating a method of light activity, while the fake sunset is remaining at the same address where I'm showing you the fake sun at 11 o'clock in the morning over my head. And you're looking at the juxtaposition of what is an impossible occurrence regarding the natural environment that would never have the sun on at the same time of year, down to even the same day and same time, in the same zenith manner over the top of my head in two different regions. That's where the demons that are monitoring on the venue of the internet employ helicopters and airplanes, while the demon-possessed psychopaths who are the elderly at Woodside, they're all going to prison. And so is this demon that's engaged in gang stalking by going in to share in the elements of monitoring with the demons that are amplifying helicopter and plane activity.
By name. That you're living at a crime scene with children, living at a crime scene or coming to the crime scene using what you have at your disposal to monitor, using your company name, engaging in whatever methods, but that a state utilizes through the people. That's how the system works. You're going to prosecute for that. You're going to prosecute for all of that. That you have minors that are engaging in criminal monitoring. Criminal monitoring is a sex offense. Criminal monitoring is terrorism. And that's exactly how those minors that the state is using, that's exactly what's going on their record. That's exactly what they're doing. All right, that's the entity itself that's going to face the consequences of engaging in terrorism, violating the constitutional human rights of an American citizen. And the answer is not threatening more and stalking more and intimidating more with helicopter activity. That's what these psychopaths engage in. And it's going against the whole entity. That's what happens when you engage in such a high crime. as one, and you're going down as one. POC.
Alrighty, that is the entity that is indeed engaged in criminal acts of obstruction of justice, like I just captured on video in real time. It's happening under the idle fake sun. That is at 11:14 today, documented, and is remaining as I'm documenting even in this video under what is the fake sun that's still in perfect alignment with me after I'm capturing images at 4:52, juxtaposing what LAPD is doing, the same gang stalking by the Ontario police, and you're witnessing a terrorist organization that they've given up on, under any circumstances, even seeking to appear as anything other than a bunch of gang members who are violent sex offenders, inclined to rape, inclined to sex trafficking, inclined to pedophilia. And this is, again, while they're inclined to sex rituals, while they practice witchcraft, they are a part of this witch coven that is gang stalking throughout the state of California, targeting American citizens in service to Satan. The Ontario Police Department is entirely demon infected, and so is the population, especially the population that's being prosecuted and is going to prison in units 33 through 64, and that are employed by AVANATH, a third party who's being prosecuted for Ontario police gang stalking with them, for the city of Ontario gang stalking by planes over their venue, psychologically torturing and harassing and interference with quiet and enjoyment at their venue, and in doing so in concert with the entity that is maintaining the elements of monitoring, as I captured in this video. It's the prosecution of the landlord that is a threat to American citizens, and they are equally a threat at every other property that they maintain in California. While I captured this highly approbative video speaking to the shared POC amongst LAPD, which is the state of California, and Ontario PD, and they provide the generous addition of evidence against them by just arriving in the video, and you're doing so with the amplified helicopter activity. And why do they do that? This is the mental illness of the demon-possessed who engage in this sort of conduct when they're fearful of what it is that I'm about to show you. So not only am I going to show you like I did, I'm going to show you what they do when they engaged in what is monitoring on your communication device, and they engage in what is exhibiting mental illness. The demons that are gang stalking and helicopter in this video, that demon's identity is not remaining a mystery. They will be producing their IDs. They're going to prison. The demon gang stalking in her white vehicle, using her vehicle as a means of stalking in the path with light. They're all stalking in the path with light while a fake sun remains over the address. Engineer light is covering all over the building. That's not a sunset that's going to be shared with Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, where LAPD is engaged in the same exact gang stalking system where the sun rises and the sun sets over me. And because they're so obsessed with my genitalia, because they're so obsessed with me and everything that I am doing, they also exhibit what is an inclination to commit murder and kidnapping and violate all of my rights with seeking to psychologically torture, because I'm reporting them to, I'm exposing them to the world, and I'm reporting them to the feds. No police department, no demon-possessed government actor, which are the people of the state and the state directly, shall ever interfere with the federal prosecution for domestic terrorism in the United States. It's not going to happen. This is what the mentally ill, demon-possessed population commit, though, and that's what they did in this video as well. It's speaking to what is corroborating evidence regarding what I've already proven. It is currently, by the way, 5:47 p.m. This is speaking to the POC, and as you are looking at the same POC, this is engineer light that's coating the patio glass door, and this is the remaining engineer light inside of the apartment. It's 5:47 p.m. This is POC.